Thank you, Kamala, for that beautiful reading. Namaste, good morning, everyone. I should be maybe right in the middle. My name is Swami Aditya. I'm coming from Pune. It's so nice to see wonderful dear friends from years ago, many who I have been meeting in the last couple days, and I hope to also see some of you after this Sunday service. Swami Lakshmi and I and some others were together in a living discipleship some years ago. And if some of you are thinking, when did Lakshmi take her Swami vows? Let me enlighten you. It was in 2019. She took it for an hour. Now let me explain. Yeah. So we were all together in living discipleship, quite a few of you in the room, myself, many others who had come from India. This was the 50th celebration at Ananda village. And having gone through a few weeks of living discipleship, we said, there comes the time where you want to thank all those who gave you those classes, and Jyotish and Deviji and many others were coming. And we thought, wow, what can we offer? What shall we do? Shall we cook for them, sing for them? And this thought came, let's do a little play. Let's do a play. It's the 50th year. It's a wonderful celebration. Let's double it. Let's celebrate the 100th year of Ananda's existence. And so we created a play based in 2069. And we were Swamis. Lakshmi and I were the narrators. I also became a Swami for an hour, then went back. Now I'm back. The scales of duality. And so we visualized. And let's take a moment. You can close your eyes. This will be for a minute or two, or just be with me now. And the vision was, it's 2069. I placed myself in time. At that time, I was over 90 years of age. And we were looking back. The whole group was there. It was a group celebration. And as narrators, Lakshmi and I were taking everybody back, addressing the next generation. And we were talking about the history. And we said, wow, look at this. 100 years ago, a disciple of Yogananda decided very firmly, clearly, to do the work of his guru. His guru had told him, there's a great work to do. It is very important. You mustn't disappoint me. And he was alone when he started, and then he attracted one by one, like Christ, like any great master, like Ramakrishna, anybody. This is the law of magnetism. We start singularly, and then before we know, there's a group. And these great souls came to him. They came in the West Coast, the East Coast, in Europe, in India, and then they traveled all over the world, and many others came. And I said, Lakshmi, remember, we did our living discipleship in 2019, 50 years ago. And he said, yeah, I remember. I said, now look, the teachings and centers and communities are all over the world. Wasn't Master right? Didn't the light win over darkness? Took some time, but we celebrated so nicely. We're celebrating it so nicely. And I thought that's beautiful. Sometimes Swami would say, and I think it was partly his job to expand the vision, or like Master would, you remember that story? I've only heard it, so forgive me if it's slightly incorrect, but Master was sitting with the monks, and he's telling him, I want you to paint these walls and such. And just at that moment, Rajarsi walks in. And Master says, Rajarsi, look, he painted this entire room by himself, single-handedly. And Rajarsi is looking at the monk. The monk is looking at Rajarsi and Master. But Rajarsi had the wisdom. He looked around, and Master said, isn't it beautiful? And he said, it is, sir. It is so beautiful. Because for Master, there is no time. Yes, we needed that monk, I bet, went and bought his paints and brushes. But it's good once in a while to step out of what we are doing now and try to see its impact, because it's a little bit like when we think of death or the time we are left with, it makes every moment of our living more meaningful. So anyway, I thought it was a wonderful, it was very hopeful for us too, because we were kind of feeling the burden of it, that, oh my goodness, it's like people had begun and now they're still looking for a new name, next generation, new generation, next wave, third wave, fourth wave, I don't know what we are called. But I was like, my goodness, let's fast forward everything and see it from a joyful accomplishment perspective. So anyway, friends, this theme, and Kamala Devi, thank you for reading that beautiful line. I often like to remind myself that last line she read, if thy faint heart fails in all those efforts, bring me thy failure. And that's from the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is titled, You Shall Attain Me. And that line, I've at least tried to tell myself that if I fail in everything, but if I can, like a child, simply take my failure back to Master, to Divine Mother, to Swamiji, to, like a little child, you're given this bowl of ice cream, you spill it, you bring your empty bowl back. You say, Mother, I'm sorry, I just went out, I tripped, I spilled it, I gave it to somebody. Bring me thy failure. And there is an attitude involved over there. And you shall attain me. Because does God really care about the number of communities? Especially Swami used to remind us. Sorry, I have a little scratch in my throat. Swami used to remind us. He said, look how big, just in the last 100 years, astronomers, scientists have found this universe to be. When he was a little child, the teachers would point out, they say, you see, Walter, James, that, so those little galaxies, there are 2, maybe even 3 of them, island universes. And they used to marvel, wow, 2 or 3. And Swami says, now we know there are at least, he would say 2 billion. I keep up on the NASA website, and they say at least 2 trillion, and the counting continues. Each with over 100 billion stars, Swami used to say, of which the sun is one, and we are, without our much knowing, revolving around it all the time. And it can make us feel small on one level. On the other hand, if we think of the beauty of it, the ability to at least think about it, well, our brain doesn't feel so small. There is a capacity in each of us, a soul capacity, you may say, that allows to be inspired by these things. And so if we're talking about this theme of light and darkness and bring me thy failure, well, God on one level doesn't really care about that project, except as Jyotish ji says, who is the project? Are you working on the project? Or is the project working on you? I think anyone who's involved themselves in any spiritual project knows the answer very well. It goes both ways. But really, the more important project is ourselves. I remember it was in our living discipleship, Devi ji was connecting with each of us, and she came up to me and she said, okay, doctor, what's happening in India? And what's your next project? I said, Devi ji, my next project is a really big one. She said, really? What is it? I said, it's called Aditya. I said, I'm working very much on it. And I think that is true. Now, light versus darkness. I want to tell a few stories over here because I think that reading was very clear. It's a line from the Bible that the light shineth. And the darkness on which the light is shining comprehended it not. In the moment, it happens to all of us. Sometimes, I think all the time, we look back on something, we say, oh my goodness, I was getting that feeling. Oh, if only, like Swami once said, if only I had asked Master that question, if only I had not doubted it so much, or on and on it goes. And we don't have to feel bad because that guilt can be a heavy weight to carry. Well, Swami says the good news is in that very line, he explains in the book, The Promise of Immortality, he said, look at the usage of the words. The light shineth, and the darkness comprehended it not. He says comprehended is in past tense because we all make that mistake. However, the light is expressed in present tense. The light shineth and continues to shine. It is the light of God. Without that, there would be no existence, nothing. So the light is always there. The question now is, do I want to benefit from that light? Can that light offer me something? And that is the whole battle. In the beginning, let's say when we are young, we are going through, our teens and adulthood. Sometimes we think we know it all. Isn't that marvelous about the ego? How the ego, even knowing these now infinite stretches of space and time, says, well, I really think I know it all. It's like that. How did God create that character of the ego with such art and individuality? But that's an expression again of his love. We shouldn't think he's consigned us to a dungeon where here we are stuck, what do we do? No, it shows, if anything, Swami said, it shows his love. We may have friendships with others, relations, of course, and relatives and all, and we tell them that, oh, I love you. But behind that statement, Swami said, unless you're a saint, your promise is conditional. Whereas God, Master said, gave us everything in our free will. Yes, there are laws in place which slowly start reminding us that this is not working out, and we turn back. And then the sweetness, as Master put it, of the divine romance starts calling us more and more towards God. But in the beginning, for eons, God does not twist our arm. He so much as does not even speak. He is silent. Master said his voice is silence. Let me actually just take us through a trajectory which I've always found very, you might say, expression of his love, yes, but it's a long journey too. And this is the soul's journey. Swami said, it is true, Master confirmed what is written in the Hindu scriptures, that once cast into creation, the soul first takes on a mineral or a rock form. I was there in a room where Dharamdas ji asked Swamiji, sir, rocks, this planet is made of rocks. They have a long life. And Swami said, I know. Isn't that amazing how long rocks live? But fortunately, then he added, God sleeps in the rocks. It's not like the rock is aware of its own weight. The rock is just, God is sleeping over there. He has expressed himself, but he doesn't move. Very little happens over there. After that incarnation, Master said, the soul moves into the plant kingdom. And plants, as we know, are much more alive on one level. We can say they move towards the sun, they sway with the wind, they respond to music, they respond to nourishment and such. And we can say, oh yes, the Master said the soul goes through many plant lives. But again, the individuality of I, the plant, is not so strong, so the soul is going through it. Then Master said 5 to 8.5 million animal incarnations. You fill in the spectrum from a germ to whatever, elephants or dogs and such. And there, if you look into the eyes, yesterday I was having dinner with Sai Ganesh, and he has 2 wonderful cats, and you look at them, and they are coming to you for a blessing. They want to be around you. They look at you, and animals are much more responsive to each other, to others. And that again, what is responding in that form? It is the soul which is now beginning to expand its awareness, its consciousness. And finally, Master said, that soul moves into a human body. And from there, we are like children of God. God allows us that, okay, Aditya, here you go. This is your body. Mon, Buddhi, Ahankar, Chitta. I hope you come back soon. But we shall see. And so that journey begins, and I think this, God thinks that, I'm not sure, and on it goes, till we finally, of course, like that saying says, the darkness gets tired, you may say, of its own darkness, of bumping around, blindly hurting itself, and the soul memory, Master said, is awakened, that this has to be a dream. This simply cannot be true. And Master says, then you start waking from that dream. And in the beginning, he said, he said, from love for darkness, which, by the way, now that we are, you might say, on the other side of the spectrum towards the light, it may think, how can darkness have self-love? It has. Just like those 3 stages of mineral, plant, animal, how could they be there for so long? Well, there is an inherent magnetism. God does not flout his own rules. He is above his laws, but there is a law and there is a magnetism for everything that there is in creation. This morning when we were doing the mantra repetition, well, mantras have powers. Mantras can accelerate our awareness, expand our consciousness. Kriya can do that. Similarly, when we are in a state of darkness, Master said, it has its own power. And how do we overcome it? As Kamala was reading, we have to hold that darkness up to the light and allow it to be cleansed. I want to share a few stories over here. Jayaji often likes to make the example. He says, you see, we are like blocks of marble, granite, and God is trying to make a beautiful statue out of it. Except the person who makes a statue has a hammer and a chisel in his hand. And we are like a little bit, you might say, like marble blocks with wheels. We see him come, and it's not a pleasant process to go through. He says, wait, I'm going to chisel a beautiful thing out of you. And he says, no. Can we not do it without sandpaper and hammer and chisels and all other things that go into the process of creating what is ultimately a very shining, beautiful, smooth, almost alive statue in the hands of a master sculptor? And so he says, how many people every morning subject themselves to the sculpting? Now we know one person who did. Many of us do. I think consciously, subconsciously, all of us do that. Why else are we here? Swami used to do that. He said every morning he would pray to God through the eyes of his guru, and he would say, God, Divine Mother, may thy will be done, not mine. Because for a long time, because of that free rein that we were given, without much of our realization, we have landed a bit far from, you might say, the center of the galaxy, like that planet, I forget which is the farthest planet. But you have to now come back, and it's a slow journey. But if we are not like a planet which is dependent on a certain speed. We have free will. And Swami says, now that you are aware of what's really going on, he says, subject yourself, invite that grace. And it's not like God is going to come with multiple hammers then. No, he's on our side. We are his children. Mother, I have failed. Mother, this is hard for me. I don't know what to do. You know who used to say, Mother, I don't know what to do? Yogananda ji. If you read the book, How to Be a True Channel, in the, I think, last or second last chapter, Swami explains that many times Master said, I wasn't sure about this, or I didn't know what Divine Mother wanted. And we may say, well, how can that be? Master knew everything. Who knows what kind of veil he had, what he put on? It's hard to understand, and those things. And Swami said, but what he taught us and what he did in his own life was he would say, okay, Mother, you want me to do this? I will take the first step. Like he said, I'll go to America. He didn't know English, mind you. And he was going to give a lecture in English, and he says, I will go. And then he says Divine Mother would guide him. So Swami was like that. He wouldn't know the end result. Like Padre Pio said, somebody said, how do you know these things? Sometimes of the future and such. And he said, well, sometimes God allows me to read his notebook. Some of it, though. You see, God also, wants to play hide and seek. Like any parent, any older sibling would. I used to play hide and seek with my much younger sister. I would just go and hide. It's a little sadistic, you may say, but you go and hide in the room, and they're like, "Oh, where are you? Where are you?" Then you come out, then you go inside the other room. So there's a little joy, you may say, in that play. And so it is that we have to subject ourselves. Another thing Master told Swamiji and everybody, he said, I know every single thought you think. What was most people's response to that? Oh my God. Swami said Master would come in the corridor, many others would go back into the room or something. It's okay. Does God and instruments of God, do they not know what challenges we face? Babaji said, I am aware of the complexity of modern civilization. And what was Swami's response? He said, finally, someone who knows me better than I know myself, who knows my problems, and can show the solution. Well, there was, shall I say, that little darkness over there, but did Swami hide it? Did he allow it to expand? No. He subject himself. He put himself. He thanked Master. Another very beautiful thing which Swami said was probably, he writes in the book Conversations, he said, I think that was perhaps the most important conversation I had with Master. And what was that? One night Swami was meditating, or maybe he was even sleeping, resting before that, and he said he was awakened by a deep presence, divine uplifting presence in the room, around the room. So he got up, he started meditating. And then this thought came to him. He suffered from intellectual pride. And Swami said these thoughts started coming. I don't know what they were, but like, you're so intellectually wonderful, brilliant, and such and such. And Swami said, I was tired of them. They had been disturbing him for the longest time. And so he said he kept meditating. At a certain point, he said he knew inwardly, he had generated enough power to overcome this agonizing aspect of ignorance in his consciousness. And he simply said, get out! He said, get out! And he said he felt a deep release from a personal involvement in that thing. And he said, ever since that incident, he never felt personally, you might say in an egoic way, involved. He did things, he did them very well, beautifully, but he said he was not personally involved. There was no what's in it for me consciousness over there, or I did it. And now here's the interesting thing. The moment he said, get out, and felt that deep blessing come over him, he saw through the window that Master was walking. It was night. Master was walking in the gardens of Mount Washington, overlooking the city. And Swami went out, and he bowed down and touched Master's feet. Master tapped him on the head, and he said, very good. And Swami said that was perhaps the most important conversation he had. Now, if we have finally found somebody, a path, the teachings, the instruments, who know how to end those eons of journey, which is nothing but bobbing up and down. I mean, that's duality. What does duality give us in the end? Swami said a big zero. He said the sum total of everything is one big zero. When Paramhansa Yogananda ji met his Guru Sri Yukteswar, and he ran in between in the very beginning. He was like, I'll find God in the Himalayas and such. So finally he came back, he said shamefacedly, and Sri Yukteswar ji said, well, come, let's find some food to eat in the kitchen. I find that very comforting. that you'll still get food. And then, what did Sri Yukteswar say after that? Master say after that? Master said, when he was describing the teachings of Patanjali to Swamiji, he said, Sri Yukteswar ji and I spent 6 months on the first verse of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And the first verse, as we may know, is, now we come to the study of yoga. Or let's say, now we are about to take a level 1 class. Now we come to Kriya Yoga. You fill in the blank. And Swami says that word now was explained by Sri Yukteswar ji for 6 months. What was there? He said, he ingrained in me and every other disciple there that we live in a world of duality. He said, unless we understand that deeply enough, we are going to want to, go up, or as it happens in the magnetism of darkness, keep going down. Well, neither of those things help. Again, Kamala was reading, offer the light and the darkness into the great light. So it's not good enough, even the Bhagavad Gita says, just to be good. I'll tell you a few stories. One is personal, the other was public, where Swamiji subjected me to some light. So this was during the filming of, the first one is when I had just come, this was 2008, and it was going to be my first Christmas celebration. And we had moved to Pune already, but Swami was yet to move, and he said, I'll do one final Christmas celebration in Gurgaon. Shantiji, how much time do I have? And I still forgot. Keep talking. That's a good advice. Swami was in Gurgaon, and all of us monks went up there. And I was given the task the evening before Christmas to set up the Gurgaon ashram over there with flowers. I had trained as a surgeon before that. I had never touched flowers from a decoration perspective, even at home. We were spiritual, but there was not much religious activity involved. And so I said, Swami will come from here, the gate, the entryway, the gate, the walls, this entire area down to the basement, And we were given baskets and baskets of flowers, and then I had to work with one of our drivers over there. So I went straight to him. I said, Rinkesh, I have never done this. I don't know how to. I don't know how they do it in Ananda. Swami is coming. I said, He said, sir, I know everything. I'll tell you. I said, yeah, I'm your assistant. And I said, let's do this in the next 1 hour or 2 when he's about to come. So we started doing that, and there was a wonderful devotee. She later became like my sister. And she came, and she was like this little cannon over there. And she was, I think, the supervisor for the whole project. And she came, and she's like, well, she was telling the driver, all these baskets, they have to be decorated. He said, yeah, we got the instruction. She said, yes. And remember, Dr. Aditya is new. He has just come. He does not know how to do any of this. So please make sure that it is good. He does not know how to do this. So I was like, that was something. So we started doing, and again she came and she was like, oh no, these flowers should have gone there. Rinkesh, he's new, but you should know. And you're like, yeah, let's change his. And she came another time. He's new, but you should know. And I was like, my training has begun. And so anyway, Swami came and things happened, and a beautiful satsang, of course. And then he said, I'd like to invite all of you to my house tomorrow. And the Christmas gifting would happen. So we were in his house, and at some point he said, now I'd like to offer all of you a gift. And I think it was a CD of one of his music albums. And so as it happens, it was all spread out, and suddenly we all started coming into a line. And as we came into a line, I noticed that this wonderful devotee, sister devotee of mine, was right in front of me. And as people came up to Swamiji, he would often, greet you, thank you for wearing some beautiful color, or comment on your eyes, your smile, something, your service. And I was new, so I thought, well, what will Swami tell her? What will he praise in her? Or maybe he'll tell her to, I don't know, speak nicely, be kind and soft. And I was having all these thoughts in my mind that, what's going to happen? And suddenly her turn came. And remember, she was small and she started walking and Swami said, "Oh, come here, my little giantess." Oh. And he pulled her cheeks, he kissed her, he blessed her. And he kind of hugged her. He was sitting, she was standing, they were still the same height, and he gave her, and he said, "I love you so much." And she was like, "Yeah." And then my turn came, and I started walking, and Swami said, "So many doctors are coming to me these days and joining our work. I just don't know what to do with them." And he looked at me lovingly, but he was like, "I never judge. I am the light. I only shine light." Now, he could be firm. He was firm with me. I don't know if other people understood. But he was quite firm at that time. But then he was giving me that exam. And like I said, as we all do, she beautifully reformed. We became friends. I taught her how to drive, and within the first minute, she hit my car into another bike. And so there was chaos, karma over there of some sort. But we worked it out. Another time, the Finding Happiness movie was being made, and there was the movie, and then there was, I still haven't seen this anywhere, I don't even know if it's in the DVD or such, but there was the extra stuff behind the scenes and all that. So I used to run a rural clinic near the ashram in Pune, and Swami had said, film all these people, and so Shivani was coming with a little camera, and she said, "We are going to collect extra footage." And so it was done with many people. And then came the evening, and we got a message. Shivani has put things together. We're going to watch it together for 20 minutes or so. All are invited to Swami's house. So we're sitting there. I was sitting right next to Swamiji. And Shivani had told me as we entered, she said, "Come on time. We are opening with your scene." So my ego got happy. I started thinking, oh yeah, I think I said the right things. That was a good interview. Oh, they're going to open with my scene. That would be nice. So I sat there. Okay, Swami said, "Are we all here? Shall we turn off the lights? Lights off, play." And they played, and I came on the scene on the TV. And I was saying like namaste, so it was like, because the CD froze. And Swami's like, "What happened?" And Dharamdas, Dharna, all the Shurjo, techie experts started running around, pressing the button. It's got stuck. And Swami said, "Well..." I knew what was happening. And 20 minutes went by. TV was shut off, shut on, CD player off, on, batteries were changed in the remote. And we gave up. You would think people were like, "This never happens, and what's going on?" And anyway, Swami said, "Well, it's late in the night. Let's, Shivani, work on this. Let's watch it again tomorrow." She's like, "Yes, sir, I'm very sorry." But he said, okay, everybody went back home. Now, because I was a bit large, I used to help with moving the couches over there. So most people left, and I knew that my satsang is still not over. You see, when you're the, shall I say, hunted, and there is the hunter, there is more that's coming. And so I was rearranging the couches, and I was just by the door about to leave. Swami was talking to somebody, and he turned around, And he says, thank you so much for arranging the furniture, Aditya. I said, no, of course, Swamiji. And he said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we couldn't hear your golden words of wisdom. I said, I'm sorry. Om, om, om. Remember that. Another time after that, then he appreciated my attitude, not referring to this thing. But Swami said, devotees usually don't have egotism. Egotism, like, well, I know things and, He says what they usually suffer from is something more insidious, and that is egoism. Like Master called it the crushing weight of the universe. That why, like Swami said, why am I separate from everybody else? Why am I not able to feel that dewdrop, that flower, the rainbow? Why am I separate? And he says that is egoism. You feeling yourself separate from everything else that is. And that, when darkness reaches that level of sensitivity, where it's certainly not bragging about itself or happy in its separation, in its whatever, and it says, no, I'm tired of this. I'm feeling silly about this. Why should I, for a few years, like Master said, polish the house, polish your skin, and soon you're dead? Why? I don't want to call that my reality. I'm a child of God, like you were reading. I'm part of the light. So even good attitudes, good karma does not take you. It takes you closer to God, but not in God, it says in the Bhagavad Gita. Because that egoism also has to consciously be offered. God will not take it from you. I'm grateful to Swamiji because he shot those arrows at me, you may say, because inwardly I used to pray. Take that thorn out. Like Swami was like, get out! That it's been there for such a long time. I can't do it on my own. But you can help me take that step. So, in closing, I forgot to read. I had a reading from Whispers from Eternity. Let's read this little reading of Masters as we close our satsang. And this is called Demand for Thy Light. I am here before Thee, Father, hurling again and again the spears of prayer to pierce the bulwarks of Thy dark silence. Missile after missile of yearning for Thee must surely break down in time the ramparts of my ignorance and delusion. With firm faith I invoke Thee. Shine before my gaze the searchlight of true wisdom, that I find some chink in those high walls of my ignorance, that I may rescue Thee from the dungeon to which my lower self so long ago consigned Thee. And I'd like to close with a final story. Again, it's so universal. We were talking yesterday, some of us, about a saint in India known as Swami Ramdas. Now there are many with that name. This was many centuries ago. He was the guru to King Shivaji in the region of Maharashtra. And Shivaji had a great, you might say, a very interesting life, certainly a great dharma to defend the land. Master, or Swami, I think, writes about it, that he went to Sant Gyaneshwar, that movie, remember, that Master saw Saint Gyaneshwar. And Gyaneshwar gave him advice, but he said, I'm not your guru. So he went to explain to me the mystery of creation. What is really happening? And he said, suddenly in meditation, he was shown a very broad river, like the kind that finally, think of the Ganga as it meets the Bay of Bengal, really wide, turbulent, it's about to meet. And he saw millions of people were drowning in it, very heart-wrenching. And he saw that, and then as he stayed in the vision, he found himself swimming upstream and encountering huge hills which were like islands within the river. And that scene also passed and he continued swimming. But by now it was very clear to him that he's swimming upstream. And he wondered, I'm not even so strong. How am I swimming upstream? And he realized that there was a power that was pulling him upstream, enabling that. And as he continued in that direction, he came face to face. He saw first a faint light, and then he finally came face to face with what he called a very bright light. And that light then, suddenly he found that his clothes were dry in front of that light. And that light, he says, turned him around, and he saw that there was no river, and that nobody was dying, and there was nothing, there was no journey over there. And he realized that those millions of people that were dying were like, of course, people, you may say, but our qualities when we are in darkness, which in Kali Yuga, where he was, this was centuries ago, the whole world was there. Nobody had any idea what's happening. But then, those mountains, he said, were his mountains of his own habits, which was big, but they were being eaten up, eroded on the sides by the flow of the river. And as he continued further, he was going upstream. And it was the devotion of the heart from his side. Master said, why don't we feel God's love sometimes? Why can't we feel the light? He said, because our own sensitivity has gone down. We have not, he said, loved God enough. Like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, to the doubter, I am his doubt. You've put out doubt, God will not say it maybe more than once. He will come to you if you really want as doubt. So on one level, if we have any sort of that darkness, we suffer and continue to suffer till we offer it up. And he realized that because he had asked that question and clarity, he was being shown and brought up higher and higher and higher. And finally, when he was at that light, like Master said, you turn around and you realize everything is happening only in the present tense in God. Everything is a dream. He says that's the only consolation. So you're neither, like Divine Mother, when Master had that meditation in Kolkata, and then he was being transported back and forth to, I believe it was France, somewhere in World War, and a bullet in his heart. And Master was between meditation and dying in the waters, and meditation and again dying. And Master said, Mother, am I meditating in my Garpar house or roadhouse, or am I in the battlefield leading people? And what was her reply? Neither. Neither. She said, realize this is a play of light and darkness. Wake up, she said. Wake up in the light. And that's what Ramdas said. When he woke up, when he saw the light, he realized, for him at least, he had come out of the sleep. He had come out of that long journey. And so, Master said, God doesn't mind your faults, whether it is any sort of, the list is long like the Kauravas. Hold it up like that child, again and again and again. And earthly parents can still get upset over spilt ice cream. Not so Divine Mother. For her projects, I know somebody at Ananda village who was sharing. He said, again and again and again, Swami gave me projects which I ran in the ground. And meetings would come up and Swami say, well, I'd like him to do this project. And people would say, oh, here we go again. But look at what, not the project has become. Who remembers those projects? Look at what he has become. And that is the important thing. Jai Guru.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. don't see the dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and a melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air.